All right, time now to talk about global trade. The United States is opening a new front in its global trade battles. The Trump administration has announced new investigations into what it calls unfair trade practices by dozens of countries, a move that could pave way for new tariffs. Washington says the goal is to protect American jobs and ensure fair trade. But the move risks escalating tensions with key trading partners worldwide. The United States Trade Representative's Office has launched two separate investigations under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, the same legal authority previously used by Trump administration to impose tariffs on Chinese imports during his first term. The first investigation focuses on excess industrial capacity, essentially looking at whether countries are producing far more manufactured goods than global demand, potentially flooding international markets with cheaper products. According to U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer, the probe will examine economies including the European Union, China, Japan, India, Singapore, Switzerland, South Korea, Vietnam, Taiwan, and Mexico. Officials say that the investigation will focus on countries where there is evidence of structural overproduction across various manufacturing sectors. If the United States concludes that practices are harming American industries, the investigation could lead to new tariffs on other trade penalties. The second investigation, expected to begin shortly, will focus on imports linked to forced labor. Now, Greer says that probe could affect around 60 U.S. trading partners, examining whether countries have laws that prohibit import of goods produced during forced labor. The investigations come at a critical moment in U.S. trade policy. Just weeks ago, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down President Trump's global tariffs, ruling that he exceeded his authority by using emergency economic powers to impose duties on imports from nearly all countries. In response, the administration quickly imposed a temporary 10% tariff on all imports, which will remain in place until July 24th, while officials work on more permanent trade measures. Despite the court's setback, the administration says its broader strategy remains unchanged, protecting domestic industries and reducing what it sees as unfair competition. Some tariffs, including sector-specific duties on steel, aluminum, and automobiles, remain unaffected by the court of ruling and are still in place. And the timing, that is also notable. The investigations are unfolding just weeks before an expected meeting between President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing in April, where trade tensions are likely to be high on the agenda. Meanwhile, new data from the U.S. Treasury shows that federal government recorded a $308 billion budget deficit in February, roughly unchanged from the same month last year. Government receipts totaled about $313 billion, while federal spending reached about $621 billion, both among the highest monthly figures on record. Tariff revenues, a key part of the Trump administration's trade strategy, brought in about $26 billion in February. Officials say that the figures do not yet reflect the impact of Supreme Court's ruling striking down many of the tariffs, because duties are typically collected weeks after goods enter the U.S. for the first 5 months of the current fiscal year. The U.S. government has run a deficit of about $1,000 trillion, although that is around 12% lower than the same period last year, largely due to stronger revenue collections.